So there are three types of probability we're going to look at. The first one is the experimental / empirical probability. The second one is theoretical probability. The third one is subjective probability. So in this lecture, we can look at the experimental / empirical probability and see an example. So what exactly is an empirical probability? So when you perform some sort of an experiment, we collect a bunch of observations or data, right? So that's what an experimental / empirical probability is. Empirical probability of an event is an estimate that event will occur based on how often the event occurred after collecting data from an experiment in large number of trials. So what exactly is a trial? So trial is just an observation. So each observation performed in an experiment is actually called a trial. So trial is just single observation. Okay, so that's a trial. So the more trials you have, the better probability that you're going to get in an experiment. Imagine you have you're taking a sample of 10 people and you're asking them a bunch of questions, and then you go on to conclude that, you know what, this is what the general population thinks, right? Whatever opinion it is, whatever question you're asking them. But just asking 10 people in this world is not sufficient, right? That's not enough. You need more sample. You need a bigger sample. You need more people that you can ask those questions. So the more people you ask your questions or whatever it is, the more better representation you're going to get of the entire population, right? So a survey is an example of an empirical probability because you're performing an experiment. You're collecting a bunch of data, and based on that data, you're making some sort of a conclusion or reaching to a conclusion, right? So let's take an example here. So in this example, let's imagine you have this factory here. Okay, I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit here. It's kind of easier for us. No, that's okay. So let's imagine you have this factory here, and imagine this factory manufactures a bunch of cell phones. Okay, imagine this is Google. They're making Google Pixels, a bunch of Google Pixels. Okay, so imagine, I'm saying imagine a lot, but just ignore that. You have 10 or 20 Google Pixels or cell phones here, and you want to know what's the probability of finding a faulty cell phone. So how are you going to do that? So we are interested in finding probability of a faulty cell phone. So how are you going to do that? So imagine you look at this first guy here, the first cell phone, which is this guy here, the first one. Imagine this guy is faulty. Okay, there's something wrong with it. This one is faulty here. So are you going to go ahead and conclude that all of the cell phones are faulty? I don't think so, because that's not a proper representation of the entire sample of these cell phones here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the second one here, this guy, and we're going to check if this is faulty or not. Imagine this is not faulty, this is correct. There's nothing wrong in it. So what your probability is going to be here? So the probability or relative frequency, as we call it, for a experimental subset. So the relative frequency is going to be the number of faulty components, which is, I'm just going to write definition first. So number of faulty components divided by number of components tested. Okay, components tested. So in this case, it's going to be, we had one faulty component, which was the first one. So that's going to be the first one, the numerator. The denominator is going to have number 2 because the total number of components tested were 2, right? These guys here. So the probability of finding a faulty cell phone is 1 by 2. Imagine now you do this for the entire sample. You do this for, how many we have here? 3, 4, 5, 6. So you do this for all of these 6 cell phones. So the bigger the sample you have, the better the probability is going to be. So the more trials you do, the better your probability is going to be in the case of an empirical probability. So that's pretty much it, guys, as far as the first case, the first type of probability is concerned, which is the experimental/empirical probability. I'm going to see you in the next lecture where we're going to cover theoretical probability. See you in the next one.